welcome back to another episode of the Vet Hustle. I have Jonathan Wills with BG Army again with us today, and we're going to talk a little bit about money today, finances and things like that. I'm very excited about this show because I need to know some things. So um, he's I don't want to say expert, but I'm gonna say he's an expert in finances. So we're going to hear a little bit about what he has to say today. So. Without further ado, what's going on, Jonathan?
Not much, Lee. Glad to be back. It's always fun sitting down, smoking with you, and having some fun, even if we're not recording a podcast. But it's also fun to, kind of see some of the issues that you're kind of going through with starting your own business, but then also some of the vets that we have in our coaching program of what the issues that they're running into, and then being able to come back, bring it into a venue like this where we can talk about it, share it with people outside of just our coaching clients or people in our Facebook group.
For sure. I like that a lot. Yeah, I know I've been going through a lot of things with my business, and it's eye-opening, and I'm investing my own money into things like that, and so I got to be careful of what I do. I love cigars, so like I can't go to my home shop where I'm at right now and buy a cigar. Like I gotta order. I have my little budget, and I take that whatever that budget is, and I try to make the most and get the most out of that budget.
Well, and that actually right there, me and Steven, we end up talking to a lot of vets starting businesses and things of that nature. And, one of the biggest things that we get is people talking about, well, I don't have money. I don't have finances. I need money. I need capital. I need this. But a fun question that I ask is, well, are you living on a budget?
Mm-hmm.
And you even said right there, I take my budget and look at it. Before, I was working with Steven, and before we started BG Army and Business Growth Engine and that stuff, I was in finance. Mm-hmm. I was in investing, insurance, and everything of that nature. And it's downright scary how many people think of a budget, and you might as well just said the worst swear word in the world if there is such a thing, because almost everyone thinks of a budget as this very constrictive, very tight, very in stone piece of paper.
Yes.
But for 6 years I was sitting down with families talking about money, talking about finance, and almost every single one of them didn't have a budget.
Yeah.
And, if you don't have your personal finances set up, then you don't know how much you can put into your business. So then all of a sudden, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul because you haven't sat down to go, okay, this is actually how much I have coming in. These are the bills. This is how much expendable I have to go. This is how much I can invest in the business or set aside for expansion. Yeah, everyone wants to walk into that business, and the first day they open their doors, all of a sudden it's just, light shines down from heaven, and they're the savior to everything.
Yeah.
And, $1 million deal walks through the door, but it's not that way.
That's a Cinderella story right there. We wanted to be like that, but for some of us, it's not. You gotta grind it out. You gotta do good. And I was going to say two things. I'm always going to have a cigar budget, because in my line of what I want to do in my business, it helps getting clients. It helps market. It helps a lot of things. So that is a part of my budget, because it's going to help me out in my business. And the second thing is, I don't think I knew how to budget until my business actually came, and I was like you say, how much do I need to? How much can I put into this business? So when I started to really get into my business, that's how I learned how to budget.
Well, and I think, I want to hit on kind of your first point of, you're saying, you're always going to have a cigar budget. If you build a budget and you enjoy getting a cigar and smoking cigars because you like to go to the cigar lounge on Wednesdays, or you want to go hang out with a good friend on Saturdays because you guys have been doing it for years and years. You're, a whiskey connoisseur, or you love car parts and rebuilding cars, or whatever that is. If you don't put that into your budget, the first time you go buy a cigar, you blew your budget. And all of a sudden you're like, oh. So that's where kind of one key is, if you look at where you spend your money, how much are you spending on sodas? How much are you spending on Starbucks in the morning? Or your local coffee shop? Because I know some people don't like Starbucks, some people love Starbucks. How much are you spending on, eating out? And just looking at those, all of a sudden you can start go, oh, okay, so I never realized that every time I stop to get gas, I also run inside, pick up 2 Mountain Dews and a candy bar.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, that's $6 every day. If you do that 3 times a week, there's $20 a week. So then, we're talking $80 a month.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a lot. But if you don't put that into your budget and you go, okay, so I make $2,000 a month, and I'm just using these as general numbers, mainly because they're easy for me to do in my head. Rent is $750 a month,
Yeah.
$2,000 net after taxes and that kind of stuff. Then rent $750, so you have $1,250 to live on. Okay, so what do you have to do? The important things: you got to make sure you have your car.
Yeah.
You got to make sure you have car insurance, gas,
Mm-hmm.
utilities. Because if you're living in a house and you don't have utilities, okay, you're living in a shell.
For sure.
You're out of the element.
Yeah.
But, those are the important things, and having food to eat. I agree with a lot of the stuff that Dave Ramsey says, but I also think that there's some gray area.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to get out of debt is very, very important. There's other school of thoughts out there that are like, hell, some debt's good. If you're using it this way or that, it's different people.
Yeah, I guess it's all about perspective. Some people, I guess, need to be like debt free to operate. And some people know how to leverage debt and things like that. Now, I'm not those terms. I'm still like I'm not knowledgeable on that.
Yep.
But when I hear podcasts, when I hear people talking about leveraging and things like that, it's very intriguing to me because it's no really right way to do things. Like there are 2 things can be true.
You're right. 2 things can be true. You can have the people who, if they have trouble controlling themselves,
Mm-hmm.
Every time you walk into the store, if you've got a $20 in your pocket, it's burning a hole in your pocket, and you might as well, you're going to find something to spend it no matter what.
Yeah.
You could be on your way to go pay rent, have $200 in your pocket to go pay that week's rent, and all of a sudden you stop at a gas station and you've got $200 in cash. All of a sudden you're leaving there with $180 because all of a sudden you wanted that Coke, you wanted that candy bar. Oh, hey, look, Reese's, the new pumpkin Reese's is out.
Yeah.
The Christmas tree or whatever. You just wanted it.
Yeah.
And if you have that kind of an impulse, until you kind of get that under control, working to be debt free, that's almost a requirement.
See, I'm kind of like that. I'm not ashamed to say that. Like last night, I went to the convenience store down the road from me, and with a friend, I didn't even go in because I knew I was going to find something that I wanted and needed. Not even needed, just something I wanted, and I was going to buy it. So I stayed out in the parking lot.
Yep.
Because it's like right now is not the time to be spending money, unnecessarily money.
Correct. It's
if I can't justify spending that money, even if it's a few dollars on the thing, I don't need it.
But you're aware of that,
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of one thing of having that awareness where
Mm-hmm.
you've got that issue.
Mm-hmm.
If you're unaware of how you spend money,
Mm-hmm.
you can't fix it.
Yeah.
If you don't realize that every time you stop at a gas station, you go in the store, you pick up 2 Mountain Dews, or you go pick up whatever. Until you have that realization, you can't change that behavior because if you're unaware of it, you can't fix it.
Yeah.
And that's where a great thing to do when trying to start a business or even straight individual personal finance is sit down with all of your bank statements, all your credit card statements, all of them. You never want to have happen. I was sitting down with one couple, and we were actually going what we call data collection. We were getting all of their numbers, what bills they had, and the wife left the room, and all of a sudden, the husband, who I was good friends with, looks at me and goes, "And I've got 2 more credit cards that she doesn't know about."
Oh.
And all of a sudden, from the other room, because they had kids too, so you know how mama's ears are.
Yeah.
What was that? Oh, yeah, that's, and that's being open, being honest, having that dialogue with your partner. But if you're trying to build a budget with only half of the numbers,
it won't work.
It's not going to work.
Yeah, because I'm going to ask some questions about this. Based off what you just said, especially if you're trying to be debt-free in a relationship, whether it be girlfriend, fiance, wife. First step is communicating.
Yes.
Communicating what debt we have, what do we like, what's going on. Because it can't work if a partner has 2 credit cards that the other partner doesn't know about.
Yep.
And it's just like, we need to know everything. We need to know all the facts so we can have a game plan.
It's very much so. If there's a joke that I like to kind of use. It's a very sick kind of joke, but it's what's the biggest issue that people file for divorce, or what's the biggest cause of divorce?
We'll say money.
It's money, but I like to use the joke line, getting married. If you're not married, you don't have to worry about getting divorced. But you can have those significant others or like that. You may have kids in your life, and you want to take care of them. But having that open communication of even how much each person makes, whether you're in a commission job where your pay goes up and down by the month, whether you have a seasonal job, or if you're in landscaping, home construction, or, where all of a sudden your pay may be impacted if you're, a builder and you build houses, and all of a sudden you're living down in Florida and a hurricane comes through. Well, you may be out of work for a couple of days.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with that? And having that open communication is a number 1 requirement
for sure
in business, in your personal life, to get a budget, but also in business with business partners and like that. But if you don't paint that picture, know what all of the income is and all of the expenses, you're trying to run a marathon when you're a sprinter.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing. Having a budget makes me realize how much I spend on groceries. And I'm like, again.
Yep. Well, and that's where, most people, once they start living on a budget, it's going to take 3 to 6 months to get a true operating budget. So you sit down the first month and you've got this ideal budget in your head. We make net $2,000. We're going to go ahead and save $200. We're going to spend $100 on gas. We're going to, $300 for the month on groceries. You're like, oh, this is all going to work out. And then all of a sudden, gas prices go up.
Yeah.
Grocery prices go up. Or you realize you think you're only spending $50 a week on grocery, and in fact, you're spending $125.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh.
And I think that's what I was. I wasn't realizing how much money I was spending on groceries.
Yep.
It's just like, oh, man, come on. So, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. You got to spend that money. I mean, you want to starve yourself?
We all have to live.
Yeah.
So we all have to, but if you get your household finances in order, where you're taking care of the house, then you know how much you can put into your business, and to grow your business.
Okay. So yeah, I want to talk a little bit more. This is business, so I want to talk about personal finances, but like starting off the business.
Yep.
Oh, there we go. My bad. How do we start the budget? How do you do your research? You figure out what you need. Yeah, for me, I needed a number. I had to put that in my budget. I needed a local number.
Yep.
Because I have a Maryland number, so I needed a local number, $22 a month.
Yep.
Right, so I had to put that in there. Anything like you pay for leads, you got to put that in there. So like I forgot the question that was leading into.
So I think you kind of started with how do you start figuring out your business budget when you're
Yeah.
getting started or like that. You know, jurisdictions are going to be different. Here in Tennessee, where we live, I'm going to kind of start with some of the basic things. You're going to have a business license. So because we live in the city, we have to have a city license and a county license. And then depending on what you're doing in the business, so this is where a lot of that research planning goes into, not just jumping in and being like, I'll figure it out as I go. Spending a little bit of time just trying to figure out some things. What licenses do you have to have? What taxes are you going to have to deal with? Are you selling anything? If you're selling anything, do you have to have a sales and use tax account? Are you going to have employees or are you going to have contractors? Because then that gets into filing, making sure you have the right accounts. That's where, when you get ready to start a business, the best things to have is an accountant and a lawyer to help you. At least one, if not both. Most of them can file the paperwork for creating your LLC. There's places that you can file it for free. But those little caveats, those little things, it's like you're hiring an expert instead of having to go figure out, okay, so what do I have to have? You're doing, do you mind if I share what your business is?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So you're doing cleaning businesses. And I believe from all of our conversations, you're doing contractors. So instead of having to go figure out, okay, so how do I have to pay them? What do I have to do? I have to collect anything tax-wise? Is that on them? Is that on me? What do I need to worry about withholding? Having an accountant helps to go, okay, this is what you have to have for the state. These are the licenses you have to have. And it just kind of opens that up so that way you can work on other things. So that way, instead of you trying to figure out, spending a week going, do I have to go to these people or these people? A lot of times a good local accountant is going to know what licenses you have to have, who you need to talk to, and that's going to save you time. Yeah, it may cost you $200, but if that $200 saves you 10 hours, is that a well-spent $200?
And I think I was going to bring up, ask you, transition and sacrificing, because sometimes, I was like, right now, I can't spend money on this. But it's not to say it's not important, it's just less important than other things I can get. I can go without this right now.
Yep.
But right now, I really need this. So, explain the importance of, sacrificing, because we have to give money to make money.
You have to invest in your business. You have to put money into your business. I kind of get a kick out of the people who are like, I need capital to start my business. Okay, well, how much have you put into it? Nothing. So you don't believe in your business enough to put money into it? Why does anyone else want to put it into it?
And that's my thing, not to cut you off. If I ever get an investor and they ask me and they see what I've been doing, well, who's been giving you money? Everything that I did, I put money in it. This is how serious I am. I'm not waiting for somebody to invest in my business. Truth be told, I'd rather invest all of it because I keep it all.
Yep. and you do have that sweat equity. That sweat equity time doing things. But, if you are, at a point where you're trying to either get funding, financing, get an investor, get a loan, things of that nature, as a person on the outside, you tell me, oh, I did all of this and it took me 3 weeks to get everything started. And I know if you went and hired an accountant for $200, you could have had that done in 2 days. Why did it take you 3 weeks? Then that makes me go, oh, so you have either a time management issue or what kind of issue do we have? And you do have those priorities. You want to make sure that you're getting quality products out there. With that, you want to make sure you have advertising. But if you don't have the money to be able to have the products to sell, then, I know yours is a little bit different with, cleaning like that, and it's just service-based. But, you've got to be able to have the equipment to do it, or they have to have the equipment.
So we have to be smart about things. I know I'm thinking about it in my life. I have a paycheck that I get. I have a part-time check that I get. So sometimes all my bills are paid with my big check. In my part-time, I'm able to I can put money into my, even if it's $100.
Yep.
I'm like, look, that's all I can do this month. Put $100 in there. I got insurance. I still got insurance. I still have things that I'm paying.
Yep.
So like, it may not look good, but bills are being paid.
Yep.
So it's like, sometimes if you really want something, you believe in it, get a part-time job.
Yep. Get a part-time job. Get some of that funding. Sometimes you don't necessarily have to have the best power washer if you're doing power washing. You don't have to have the, $6,000 tow behind trailer system with a heater and separate soap tank with heated water to be able to go power wash houses and cars. I had a young man. He's 19 years old. I mean, he is probably better read than most 50 to 60-year-olds. And him and his friend, they car detailing business, and they pulled up to detail my daughter's car in a Tesla and had everything in the Tesla. They had the water, they had the power washer, they had the soap, they had all of the equipment. Everything was right there in the car. And it wasn't even one of the trucks. It was a car. And they were doing it out of the car.
Oh, wow.
Yes, you could say, oh, well, you had to have the money for the Tesla. Okay. You got to have a vehicle. One thing that a lot of people also don't fully realize, and this is another reason why I say an accountant is one of your big things of having.
It's a non-negotiable.
Is really, an accountant should be a non-negotiable in every business. If you're, suddenly big enough where you can bring an accountant in-house, great. I would still have an external accountant, just to double check, but the tax code, because there's a lot of expenses that can be written off as a business expense, which then saves you taxes.
Explain a business write-off. What does that mean?
So let's say, I'm going to foreshadow, let's say we're a year from now. You're coming up on getting ready to do your taxes for the year. You had, let's say $100,000 came in. That's your gross revenue. That's your gross amount of money that came in. And then you had things like your cell phone or your phone to be able to conduct business. That's a business expense.
Okay.
So now that phone, instead of it coming out of your household budget like that, because you're using it for the business, and this is where having an accountant for the exact percentage of use, you can write it off against your business. So let's say that was, $5,000 for the year. So now, in very simple terms, instead of having $1,000 gross income, you now have a $95,000 net income. And then you paid your contractors, for ease here, we're going to say $35,000. So now you're down to $60,000. And then you had, you said insurance. So you had insurance. You had marketing, buying leads. You had expenses with that. You had travel expenses, reimbursed expenses, gifts that you gave people, things of those nature. And let's just say all of that came out to like another $10,000. So now all of a sudden you had gross of $100,000. Don't quote me on the numbers. I'm going for straight ease here. Yeah. If you are in a 15% tax bracket, and I know it'd be actually higher than that, actually we're going to say 20%. If you're in a 20% tax bracket with $100,000 gross income, not factoring in any of your expenses, then all of a sudden you would be taxed at $20,000. Now, because you wrote off all of those business expenses, now you're at $50,000 net income. Now that $50,000 net income then drops you from a 20% tax bracket to a 15% tax bracket.
Okay.
So now all of a sudden, that $50,000 is only being taxed at 15%, so it's $7,250. That's a lot better than $20,000, right?
Oh, for sure.
That's where one of those things is you can save that money and those expenses. A lot of people, I like using this business. I don't necessarily like them, but Amazon. How many billions did Amazon make in a year? It's something insane. I think it's like for ease here, let's say 100 billion
Yeah.
gross.
Yeah.
100 billion gross. That'd be an insane tax bill. But then crazily, they paid no corporate tax. How did they do that? So having a good accountant, familiar with the tax code, not to even go political here also, those people who have a problem with Trump and what he's paid in taxes, it's the tax code. When you realize that the tax code was written for business owners, not for employees, you start looking into it. You start figuring out the ways that it can work for you.
Yeah.
So, all of a sudden you go from, there's a section in the IRS code for businesses where, let's say you went out and bought a brand new excursion, and you bought that excursion, you financed the excursion. Under this section code, talk to your accountant. I'm not going to tell you the code because I don't want the IRS knocking on my door. But, when you can actually, there are stipulations where if a vehicle weighs so much, you can actually write off the entire cost of that in the first year.
Oh, wow.
So then all of a sudden, we're still back with your numbers. So let's say you spent $40,000 on a brand new excursion. That was the purchase price. Okay, great. Well, that $40,000, you can then instant depreciation it. So you take that entire $40,000 and it's an instant depreciation off of your $50,000. Now your tax liability is $10,000. So with a tax code, you can actually be a profitable business and pay all your employees and everything else, but on paper, lose money because of all of the tax benefits, the tax write-offs. So having an accountant, a number one thing you need to have.
That makes sense. That definitely makes sense.
And some of the things that, you can write off is, again, confer with your accountant, but let's say you are traveling for a meeting. You have, you predominantly work out of your house. So your rent bill, let's say you have 1,000 square foot apartment. You have a 10 by 10 room that is your office to run your business. So that's 100 square feet of 1,000 square foot. So 10% of your rent and 10% of your utilities could be written off as a business expense.
Okay.
And then, if you rent a place, obviously that's a business expense. You can start getting into a whole bunch of things within the tax code that's going to save you money.
Yeah.
But, again, going back to kind of before we started to dive off of this, is if you don't have the money to get started, you can't start utilizing those. And so a lot of times you don't necessarily need that $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 loan to get started, because you want to go buy the latest and greatest and the best equipment.
Yeah.
But you could get started with a $500 lawnmower.
For sure. And it's important to so I did my research and a lot of things. And there were some things that I wanted to do as start a business. What does my overhead look like?
So every business is different. In general, your overhead, you're going to have insurance. If you don't have insurance and you're doing a business, that can be an issue. You want to make sure you have insurance. You want to make sure that you've got your licenses, all of the necessary licenses. You want to make sure that you have a business checking account.
Yeah.
So that way the IRS doesn't come knock on your door and go, "Oh, you're commingling funds."
Hey, let me stop you.
Yep.
Business account. I know when I had to get my business account, just for y'all, if y'all thinking about starting, you need a operating, operating agreement. Yeah, you need your EIN number.
EIN, operating agreement.
And I think there was one more thing that I needed in Tennessee.
Yep.
And I can't remember what it is. I have to go look back, but I'll put it in the description when I get done with this.
You want to have all of that. You want to make sure that you also have, you need to become a paperwork Nazi. Or very, we're going to cut that out.
Yeah.
You want to be very adamant about keeping all of your paperwork.
And I do, I have a lot of stuff in emails. I email, so I have my actual business account email, but I have a deep cleaning Gmail that I keep a lot of my files in.
Yep.
So, but I can't like get off this podcast without talking about AI because a lot of stuff. I use ChatGPT. I've been using another one. This is not sponsored, but I switched to Perplexity. I've been using that because it's not only does it give you information, it gives you the source, which I really like because I can go click on that and find it and actually look at the source that they're giving. But I got ChatGPT to write me an operating agreement. Now I have somebody in my life. Like I say, I got this agreement. Can you read this over and make sure this is good?
Yep. And that is one way. There's also some free websites out there, things of that nature, that you can utilize some of that. And that's where, my first business that I had, I started it back in 2000, right out of college. 2009, closed it down. But I had an accountant who quarterly he reviewed my books.
Yeah.
You can have those, a lawyer who you're friends with or that who just kind of go, hey, how much would you charge me just to look over this contract? Just to look over this operating agreement? How much would you charge me for me to be able to have you, where if I picked up the phone, you'd answer a question or an email, things of that nature. And being able to have that, that's just a little resource to be able to have in your toolbox so that way you're covered. AI can do a lot. AI can help you even look at what your overhead would be. Be like, I want to start a home cleaning business. What are the rates that are going in the area? What are people charging? What are people making? What other items am I missing? And being able to use it so that way it becomes another tool to help.
And going back to overhead, the reason, and I'm gonna tell people the reason why I chose. First of all, I don't want to do work. I can find things and I can do the admin work. I don't want to clean. So I chose contractors instead of employees right now. I may do employees in the future, but right now I don't have the money to do that. So, hey, you're a good subcontractor. You're responsible for bringing your own cleaning supplies, and that cuts a lot of that overhead out.
It cuts a lot of that overhead, and one of the things to also, as we've talked a little bit about taxes and overhead and things of that nature. What also a lot of people don't realize is if you have a job, the coming out of your check is approximately 7.5% that's going to Medicare and Social Security. I could be off on that percentage. I'm going off of memory here, but 7.5% comes out of yours, and 7.5% your employer pays. So, as a business owner, you then are actually, when you get ready to do your taxes, you're responsible for that entire amount. So all of a sudden that increases your tax liability because now you're paying that entire 15% as opposed to just 7.5%. So then being aware of what those numbers are, what you're going to have to spend, what it's going to do to your taxes. And so if you walk into a business and you just all of a sudden wake up one morning, decide, hey, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I am working on cars. I've got my own tools. I'm going to go open my own garage. I'm going to tell my neighbors that I'll work on their cars and I'm going to charge them $200 to work on their cars. Just because you're a great mechanic working on the car doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to be a successful businessman.
Yes.
And if you just wake up one day and decide to do that, there have been people who've done that and they've learned through the School of Hard Knocks, or they've had an emergency fund. If you have nothing saved, nothing that you're ready to put into it, all of a sudden you're going to wake up one day and be like, I have no money, I can't pay my rent, all of a sudden you're going to be in a very dire situation, and then you're going to be grasping for anything and everything to just go ahead and pay the bills and meet the basic necessities. Whereas a little forethought, a little planning ahead of time, okay, what do I have to have? Putting some money in. Until your business, when I was doing insurance and investment, until you're in that industry, I was always told by my mentor that until you are making enough in your business where you don't need your work check,
Mm-hmm.
until you have exceeded that, you can't quit your day job.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean you're going to do 60, 70, 80-hour weeks? Probably.
Yeah.
But it's that sacrifice.
Yeah.
It's that short-term sacrifice, because then all of a sudden you are then going to be able to go ahead and have that money that's coming in from the business. You can reinvest into the business.
Mm-hmm.
You can invest it into marketing. You can invest it into materials. You can invest it into resources so that way you get better.
Yes.
You know, there's a great book called Carry Water by Day. We'll put it in the, maybe we'll put it in the bottom. But you got to make sure that you're staying fresh and that your information and that your knowledge is up to date.
Yeah.
You know, if you have no money saved up and you decide you want to go start a business and it's going to cost you $1,000 to get all of your licenses, are you going to risk running a business where all of a sudden the city may knock on your door and go, so you owe us $1,000 for your license, and since you've been operating for 60 days, there's a $100 per day penalty for operating your business without a license. So now all of a sudden you're at a $7,000 bill.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather plan ahead.
Yeah.
And just being aware of that, spending that time. You know, yeah, we all want the latest and greatest tools. We all want the best computer if you're working in accounting or game design or whatever. You want to have the best things out there. But if you can start with something less, I'm not saying skimp on, I'm not saying go to the Dollar General and buy the cheapest thing out there. But instead of buying I'm going to use a landscaping company here. Instead of buying that $12,000 riding lawnmower, going down to Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart, buying that $100 lawnmower, buying that $100 weed whacker, $100 blower, and working out of your car or a pickup truck, you get that money going. And then you start getting that reputation. And then those clients, you're like, hey, great. Do you know anyone else who's looking for it? And you start getting referrals from them.
Yeah.
If you do a good job, your customers should be happy to refer them to you.
So let's talk about goals. I don't need the best of the best right now. I'm starting off. I don't have that much business right now. I need something that can do the job. So I do the job, and as I grow, your goals. All right. I want to hit this. Now I can afford to buy this because I made it. I set my goals. I've accomplished my goals. Now I'm able to get the best of the best because of my goals. I've hit goals. How important are goals?
Goals are more important than people realize, even in your personal life.
Mm-hmm.
If you have no goal in life, it's you don't know where you're going. So I'm going to kind of use a little country thing because we're in the South. There's some rednecks around here.
Mm-hmm.
You're sitting in your driveway and you're like, hey, hop in the truck, let's start it up, and we're just going to go.
Mm-hmm.
And you have no destination as to where you're going. Well, all of a sudden you're doing donuts in your side yard because you're just spinning and not getting anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But you're being productive,
mm-hmm.
or you think you're being productive.
Yeah.
If you don't know where you're going, you don't know the steps that you need to get there. Yeah. So if you don't know what that destination is, whether that destination is $5,000 a month gross income, whether that's $5,000 income, whether that is to be able to hire 15 employees so then that way you can take a 6-month vacation, you need to have the goals. And your goals need to be, and now I can't think of the SMART goals. They need to be specific, measurable, actionable, relatable, and time-based.
Yes, and I will say a little bit of at least one delusional goal.
Well, and that's where SMART, most people are familiar with SMART.
Mm-hmm.
One of the books that I read, he was actually talking about smarter, and he added, 2 other more, which were, I forget what they were. We'll drop it in the notes. But, you want to make sure that your goals stretch. If you are making $10,000 a month gross,
and
you go, you know, I want to gross 11,000 next month, and everything you sell is $1,500. Well, that's one sale.
Yeah.
So that's not really stretching.
Yeah.
But if you're making $10,000 a month and go, next month I want to make $150,000 gross, it's going to be a lot of extra work. It's great for stretching, but if your goals are audacious, too audacious where you can't comprehend it, then your mind is mentally going to go, I don't know where to go. So going from like 10,000 to 20,000 would be really achievable. But if you're at 10,000 and go, hey, I want to, in 6 months, I want to be at $50,000 gross income. Great. Now you've got a timeline. You know how you can work towards that. So then that means I need to have X number of sales. If it's a $1,500 widget that you're selling, then all of a sudden you know to get that additional 40,000 that you're going to need to go sell 30 more of those a month. Okay. So now we need to sell 30 of them. How do we sell 30? And it's starting to work that backwards. You need to just kind of work through some of those. But again, if the goal seems too easy, then all of a sudden you're like, that's easy, I'll get to it tomorrow. That's easy, I'll get to it tomorrow. You start the first of the month and you're like, that's easy, I'll get to it tomorrow. And then all of a sudden it's the 28th of the month. You haven't done anything. And you're like, crap, I haven't even made the 10,000 that I made last month because I haven't been doing what I need to do.
For sure.
And so, you want to make sure that it stretches, that it challenges you, but not where it makes your brain go, oh, that ain't.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at. I'm still setting goals. I have my little goals, and I get my little dopamine hits when I reach them. They're easy goals, but still in the sense of like I'm in a season of unknowns still.
Yep.
So even little goals are huge victories for me right now.
And some of the goals may not necessarily have to be a monetary goal.
Yeah, and it's not right now.
Some of the goals may be, I want to, this week, I want to find out what licenses I need to have. Well, if you're working a 40-hour-a-week job and you're on third shift, that may impact your sleep schedule because now most county city offices open at 8 and close at 5.
Yeah.
But if you get off work at 6 a.m., you go home, go to bed, and you don't wake up until 6 p.m.
Yeah, it's hard.
Now all of a sudden you have to adjust your schedule.
Yeah.
So going, hey, today I'm going to call the city, find out if I need to have a license. I'm going to call the county tomorrow, find out what licenses I need to have.
Yeah.
I'm going to contact the state, find out what licenses I need to have. Great. You broke it up into small bite-sized things. You achieve that goal.
Yeah.
And then it's great. What other competitions in the area? What equipment do I have to have? You may be one of those. I have this. I'm actually doing some coding on some things right now where all of a sudden it's like, I just want to get this one thing to work. And all of a sudden that works. And all of a sudden it's like, I'll be sitting at home. It'll be 6 o'clock at night. I'll be working. Things will just start working. So things will be going. And it's like, I look up. I lost track of time and it's 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Because you just kind of get into that groove. Some things will happen that way. But then the next day I'm like, I was up till 2. The alarm's going off at 7. I don't want to get up.
For sure.
But then it's like, but I need to go achieve my goal. I want to hit my goal.
Yes. It's very important to hit your goals. Hey, I'll talk about that dopamine hit. Well, last Thursday, I got my first interview with a client.
Nice.
I was nervous talking to her, but after I got off the Zoom meeting with her, like I felt that very dopamine hit, and I was like, "Oh, this is kind of addictive right here."
and it really is, and it is a very dopamine driven kind of thing, results driven. That hey, I've done it. The other thing too is also being able to have that those coaches, those mentors, where you can go, hey, I did this interview, it went fabulous. business. Great. Well, then if you have another one and you're like, oh man, that was absolute trash. Like, I'm pretty sure that my tongue was stung by a bee because I just couldn't talk. My brain wasn't working. Breaking some of those things down, talking about them, having that sounding block to be able to go, this is what you did. Well, what about if you tried this or done this? And being able to have that coaches, that mentor, the people who have been there, have done it before to help you get there. The other great thing in business is you got to be able to fail and fail often.
Yeah, and that's that word. That's a scary word sometimes, to fail. Like my business, I have to fail in my business. That's a scary thing to comprehend, but it's necessary, because the failing part is I failed and I didn't try again.
That is true failure. Is getting knocked down and not getting up. It's okay if you get knocked down, and it's okay if you take a few minutes, lick your wounds, call your coach, call your mentor, call another business owner, and I'm using those three things because if your family has never owned a business, if none of your friends ever owned a business, and you call them and you're like, man, I did this, and it just didn't go right. Well, I told you that wasn't going to work. Whereas another business owner, we're going to be like, great, so did you learn anything? What did you learn? Let's do it different, better. And business owners, we get hurt, we get beat up, we get shot down, we deal with the rejection every day, whatever. But it's that ability to get up and keep fighting.
Yeah, I talk about this. Like I'm going to end the show here in a couple minutes. My company's called Breathe Easy Cleaning, but before it was called Made Bills Cleaning. And I remember I got my first cleaning. I had a girl that was going to go out to the house and clean. It was going to be recurring every 2 weeks. And I took less money. Like the split that we're going to do, I was like, well, I want you to be taken care of, so I'm going to let you have majority of it, and I'm going to take this little bit. I just want to see the ball going. It goes to that morning, and she calls me and says, my kid is sick, I can't come. And I was like, I can't argue that, but I was like, she is being untruthful. I just knew it. It took a lot. It hurt, and it took a lot of me. It was a knockdown, but in that moment, I couldn't find find somebody else to come in there and do it. I said, I can't do this right now. I'm going to regroup and do it again. So when I finally decided I want to start this again, but you know what? I'm going to go with a different name, and I'm going to do it the right way.
And that's I know we've had several conversations. The great thing that I love about what you've done is you've talked to people who have run businesses, own businesses, so that way you've broadened your knowledge. You have reached out to people and been like, hey, I had this happen. Oh yeah, that kind of happens. But it's getting back up. It's going again. It's that regroup. Sometimes that regroup is, I've shared a little bit before about my story. I closed my business in 09, 08, rocked my first business. And I kind of was at a point where I was having trouble finding that will to fight. I went and played with Uncle Sam for 6 years. It took me a few years to kind of lick my wounds, regroup. But during that time, I was doing a lot of professional development. I like to use the term professional development as opposed to self-help. I hate the self-help section. We're all developing. We are human beings, and we should be growing, not just this is what we are and that's it. Growing, learning, improving, fixing things. But yeah.
No, I get that. That makes sense. Like I said, bottom line, you get knocked down. It may take some time to get back up, but regroup, think about it. What can I do differently this time? And surround yourself with winners.
Yes.
You talked about, here at McCoy Cigar Lounge, there are many successful business owners.
Yes.
And they give that game away for free. Yes. Because they like you, they care about you, and they want you to see you win. You have to get around people that want to see you win, people that care about you, people that want to see you win, and they've done it, and they're going to give that game away for free, and you have to take advantage of that resource.
Yep. And I'm gonna, I'm excuse the kind of plug here, but it's also one of those with. There's a lot of people who will give it away. Those friends, those contacts, those things of that nature. We've got a great Facebook group where it's all business owners, all veteran business owners. Asking questions. Someone's probably been through it.
Yeah.
But then we also do coaching and mentoring, where it's one of those where, hey, this just happened. Great. How'd you deal with it? How'd you and having those resources and having that community, to be able to have that strength, because there's strength in numbers.
It is a very cool community. I don't post in it a lot, but I see a lot of stuff in there, and it's growing. I'm gonna plug the Vet Hustle podcast. If you have a business and you want to talk about business and you military, right now I only do military veterans. Maybe in another day I may actually bring on people that's not military that can have insight. But right now, I just want to focus more on military veterans. I'm committed to improving that community. Just like disability awareness, disability owned veterans. I mean, disability owned veterans, disability owned businesses. Like, I'm committed to these sectors.
Yep.
Because we need those.
And the thing is to kind of plug again with the podcast or like that. It's one of those of your story. You may not think your story is that significant, but your story or what you've gone through or what you've done could be something that another vet can relate to.
Yeah. I would say I talked to somebody off. I don't know if it was actually on. It was on the Vet Hustle. I don't know if I said it on the actual recording or off. But I said, I like to ask questions because I want to connect with you. I want to feel your experience of being in the military. That's why I asked about boot camp. That's why I asked about stuff. But also, I want the veteran that's listening to say, oh man, because I know, like, when I sit here at the lounge and I watch military stuff, I may watch boot camp. Oh, we did this. This is different. How you light up and you're connected to that.
Yep.
You may have different kind of experiences, but you connect with that.
Yeah.
And I want people. I want to connect because I want to hear your story, but I want the audience, the military vet. And they say, sometimes they may say a joke. He may be a Marine. He say a joke about a different branch. I love that, and I want people to listen to it and get a smile.
Yep.
And stuff like that. Like, oh, cool. You're lucky I'm not on there. But I just want everybody to connect.
Yep.
When we have connection, the world operates better.
Yep, it does. It's all about connections. It's all about that community. Find your community, build that community, and find the people who are like-minded to keep growing. Where you can challenge each other.
For sure.
Where you can, grow. One person does something a little bit better. Well, guess what? You need to get better so that way you can do it better than them.
Yeah.
Or, we all push each other.
Like I said, get around people that wins. Being even working with you guys. Like, that was an opportunity, and you gave me a chance because I didn't know anything about SEO. But now I enjoy it. Like, when I see stuff, I'm like, oh, like, I can look at it like, that needs to be taken care of. That needs to be taken. Oh, like, I understand it. Now, obvious SEO sucks sometimes. It's like, it's always something changing.
Yep.
But some of the things stay the same.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that in SEO that stays the same. And I get that, and I could go in there and do what I need to do with that. And then there's some things like, I don't know about that. I'm like, but I enjoy it, and it gave me a passion to learn about SEO.
Yep.
And you asked me, you know anything about SEO? I was like, no. But what did I say? I can learn. That's an attitude. You love the attitude.
Yep. and it's, the more people who have that attitude of, I can learn, I'll try. I know a little bit, but I'll put in some extra time. That little bit extra, that little extra help, where that willingness, all of a sudden blooms into something else. Where, oh, we're doing this. Oh, no, now we can do this. Because then you find different skills. That's actually where, the Vet Hustle came from.
Yeah.
Is you love doing podcasts, and we're like, hey, great. Me and Steven are busy enough.
Yeah.
And so we're like, hey, here you go.
That's content that we can put on social media.
Yep.
You don't have time to work on some content, always come to these and put them out. And I think they're informative.
Yep.
And I've seen Steven, and I'm like, I'm scrolling Instagram, and I see me talk to somebody. I'm like, this is not one of my platforms. Yeah, I just think it's cool. And so, yeah, reach out. Reach out if you want to be a podcast. Reach out.
And so, how can they reach out to you? You drop an email below or a link down below.
I can. I'm gonna give it to you right now. LucJones, Luke Jones 5@gmail.com. You can actually go on Instagram, The Vet Hustle. I have several social media accounts that you can reach. Matter of fact, I give you my work number. It's 423 228 7310.
And the thing is, reach out.
Yeah.
You know, I love being on with you. I love sitting here smoking cigars. You know, it's something that we do regularly. But it's one of those of reach out, get your voice out there. You know, if you come onto a podcast and you want to put it on your social media, we can help get you the pictures. We can help get you some clips. We can help get you that kind of thing, because that's going to raise some awareness. Raise awareness for your business, raise, you know, everything else. And it's helping everyone else succeed.
Sure, yes. So, my last question, I don't know if you said it, but you might want to reiterate something. What is, you know, I said this to you when you came on before, and when you come on again, I'm going to say it. Drop one last nugget for the audience.
I'd say probably the biggest thing, you know, because we did start talking about money and like that. The biggest thing is make sure you're taking care of your house, your personal finances, and make sure you're investing money in your business. Yes. Investing money, growing, and always pushing forward.
Yes.
The day that you stop pushing forward in your business, you know, you may need to go ahead and have a conversation with people and be like, hey, I'm just kind of struggling. And it's okay to struggle. Reach out to people. That's why you have a like-minded community to help lift each other up.
For sure. Slow motion is still progress.
Yes, it is.
Jonathan, I thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks, Luke.
You enjoyed yourself.
Always.
And we're going to do it again. First of all, anytime you give me a cigar, I'm always, I'm always willing to get on and talk business. So that's great. With that being said, I'll see y'all next time.